Snakes get a bad reputation for being scary creatures. Movies and television usually paint them in this negative light, and people just tend to have an aversion to animals that move in such a creepy way. Not to mention that many species of snake carry deadly venom that we're naturally fearful of. While snakes are undoubtedly more afraid of humans than we are of them, that doesn't mean stumbling across one isn't going to induce a certain level of panic. Even snake expert Vern Lovic has experienced this from time to time. He was called over to a friend's house in Thailand one afternoon to take a look at a snake issue. He thought it might have just been one or two garden variety serpents, but what he found was an utter nightmare. Did you know that animals do some crazy things sometimes? If you subscribe to our other channel, you would. Even though snakes are far more afraid of humans than we are of them, they often have a negative reputation, and rightfully so. They can be venomous. While snakes aren't inherently evil, they do evoke a sense of terror that you might only understand if you were staring one right in the face. One man who isn't afraid of these slithery animals is Vern Lovic. He's a snake expert and self-proclaimed snake enthusiast. He's handled all types of serpents over the years, from big and venomous to small and harmless, and some cases are more serious than others. When Vern's friend called him one day to investigate a snake problem at his home in Thailand, he jumped at the chance to help. However, as soon as Vern arrived, he realized things were much worse than he had anticipated. Vern was armed with a clear bag made of reinforced plastic and long metal tongs so he could safely grab and store the snakes without fear of them biting or escaping. Still, he had no idea what he was in for when he first entered the house. Vern checked every corner of the house. Snakes have a way of burrowing into hard-to-reach places, and that included shoes and pants pockets. Luckily, Vern had experienced serious infestations before, so he knew exactly where to look. Vern started to search in the bathroom. He knew snakes often hide inside toilet bowls, and that was the last place anyone needed to get bitten. As soon as he opened up the bathroom door, he saw his worst nightmare, slithering up the wall in the back corner. Not only was there a snake infestation, but these were baby monocled cobras, the most venomous snakes in Thailand. One bite could result in a quick and painful death. Still, Vern was determined. He trapped one snake and carefully carried it out of the bathroom. Even though Thailand only has about a dozen reported deaths from snake bites every year, people should still avoid them at all costs. They never really know which ones are harmless and which ones aren't until it's too late. Vern ended up finding almost a dozen snakes in the bathroom. After he was sure there were no more, it was time for him to move on to the next room. He was nervous about what he'd find, and he was mentally prepared for the worst. Vern entered the room slowly so he didn't send any snakes slithering away. He carefully made his way past the furniture, making sure to check every nook and cranny. He knew snakes had a way of getting into places you might not expect. Sure enough, Vern found several more baby cobras hiding behind glass bottles on the floor. And there were even some more inside a few empty tin cans that were strewn on the ground. They were everywhere. The room was long, and after Vern made sure he snatched all the cobras from the front end, he gradually made his way to the back half. With every step he took, he had no idea what he was going to encounter. Sure enough, there were still more baby cobras hiding out in the back. Some of them were wrapped around pipes, while others were hiding out inside small garbage cans. Vern was incredibly thorough with his search. The next place Vern needed to check was his friend's bedroom. Since his friend spent many hours per night asleep here, it was vital that the cobras were removed. When he swung the door open, all seemed to be okay at first. Then he pulled back the bedspread, and he found a few snakes quickly trying to slither back underneath the safety of the covers. Vern instructed his friend to stay at a hotel until he could be sure they were all taken away. As Vern was leaving the bedroom, he spotted one more baby monocled cobra trying to escape underneath the bottom of the door. Luckily, he spotted its tail and he safely collected it in his bag with the rest of its brothers and sisters. Vern couldn't believe his eyes. There was yet another pile of frantic snakes in the corner just outside the entrance to the bathroom. The number of snakes in this house was staggering. It was truly one of the worst infestations he had ever seen. After he secured the snakes in his bag, it was time for the next location, the living room shelving unit. There were plenty of small spaces for the venomous snakes to hide out, and Vern needed to be extra careful with this task. The very first thing he did was knock over the tall pair of boots. He knew snakes liked to camp out in small dark places, and sure enough, several baby cobras came slithering out. How many more snakes was he going to find? In total, Vern found 56 monocled cobras hiding inside his friend's house. Was he eventually able to rid the house of all of them? That's really as bad as it gets. Even having one unwanted critter in this house is bad enough, but 56 snakes? Indiana Jones would run screaming. Share this creepy video with your friends.